Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where in the world you are at the moment. Welcome from Bangkok, Thailand to our 30 minutes Promoting Unity in Diversity series with Wanny Angerer in Moving Cultures. Our guest number 76 of this series is Seise Bagbo from Kenya. How are you, Babu?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. My name is Seise Bagbo. I am an artist and an activist. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you
Yeah.
for that short introduction of who you are. But now tell us a little bit more in context. Who is Seise Bagbo? Where is she coming from?
Seise Bagbo. Right now, I live in Kajiado, and Kajiado is a very nice place in Kenya. I will give it nice because it's really cold, hoping that it gets warmer. and yeah, where I come from, that would mean tracing all the way back. And I always say, like, where I come from, I could say I come from Kisumu, because that is one place that raised me. And yeah, I come from Kisumu. I could go with that. Yeah.
Can you please
Yes.
tell us how the background of your family and your
Yes.
ancestors has
Yes.
building up the
Yeah.
personality of Seise Bagbo?
All right. So I was raised by two families. One is my godmother, and that's where I get the name Betty from. She's called Betty. She was called Betty. I didn't like my names when growing up, so yeah, she gave me hers. Um, she's quite a liberal person, and I think that's where I got my very liberal ways of thinking and all that from, because she's one of those people who's always up to a conversation. Then my biological family, I had my dad died in 2018. My dad and my mom. One thing I would say is that I was never close with my biological family as much, maybe because they were never close to me too. And how they've contributed to the person that I am. From my dad, one thing that I got from him is the fact that I can't overlook what I consider injustice. I've tried. I've tried to stay away from it. Like, I've tried to not be political, but it always just calls me back. It always just draws me out and calls me back. And I think that's something that I got from him, because my dad has always been political. Even when it was going to destroy his family, like he did so many times, because we were not his first family. We were, like, I think, his eighth family. His other families just got caught in the middle of everything, and everything was destroyed, and they had to start over again. But he never ever left his political views. So I think that's one thing that I got from my father, my biological father. And yeah, so my ancestors from my biological side, I believe every ancestor pulls up for you, but my ancestors from my biological side, I believe they were very political people, all the way through and through. I'm not sure about my mom's side so much. I know my grandfather, and my grandfather is one of those very civil people. And from my dad's side is where I always see it very political. Like, people are always just this close every time. There is something wrong. People are on the streets and they're the ones leading it and all that. So I think that just followed me through and through. I think it's important to learn that. Because sometimes I'm wondering, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I just let it go?
Babu,
Yeah.
I know you studied medicine.
Yes.
Can you please tell us why did you decided to go into that career?
That gets me emotional. So when I joined med school, it was like in 2011, 2012. And that November, my sister from the side of my second family, my godmother's daughter, died. She had sickle cell anemia that by the time she was dying, I think it developed to stage 4 leukemia. So she couldn't be saved, and she was suffering and she was in so much pain. At that time, I'd gone to med school first year, but I didn't want to do medicine. I always wanted to do fashion and design. But I thought if I did first year and my mom saw how much I didn't like it, she would let me go and study fashion and design. But she didn't. She just was like, you've gone through first year. It's just like 5 more years, and then you do 1 year, that's 7 years, and then you're done. So don't like leave it yet. And then when my sister died, there was just a part of me that felt like there was so much we could have done if we knew how to. And that just fueled even me majoring in studying cancer. I became a cancer doctor because of my sister. And I think more and more of finding my space in the world after finding that, I think in 2018, after my dad died, and realizing that my dad was also a doctor before, with all his political things, yes, he was a doctor. And so moving that to a place of understanding what I wanted out of this space, and also the impossible healthcare system that is in Kenya, there was nothing much I could do as a cancer doctor. And the other part of it was the fact that that wasn't my dream. And so I had to find a place where I fit. Yes. And that is when my artistry just came to that place where I noticed that, you know what, yes, I've done medicine, but I did it for my sister. And what I believe in my heart, I have to stay true to my heart. And that was me doing art. And that's how I left. And I think you saw the transition and how I was really like all confused and up and down and all that. I'm in the hospital, I'm not. It was everything. Yeah.
Babu, when you say that you find out about your sister's clinical situation, you said that she had anemia.
Yeah, she had sickle cell anemia, yes.
What is the name? What is the name of the anemia?
Sickle cell anemia.
So tell us a little bit about more about that, because apparently you were doing your research on that.
Yes, so sickle cell anemia is a condition, it's a blood condition where your red blood cells become into a sickle shape, like it curves. And people who have this are always and constantly in so much pain. And my sister was in so much pain, and most of the time sickle cell anemia can develop into cancer, and for my sister it developed into leukemia. And it didn't develop just into any leukemia, it developed into stage 4 leukemia. And I remember her blood would become powdery, like completely dry, powdery, and she had to always get, like after every 15 minutes we had to do a blood transfusion. It made her to be in so much pain. Yeah, so that was seeing that and witnessing just the pain that even my mom was in during that time really like changed and motivated my way of looking at this. Yeah, it changed a lot the way I saw the entire thing. Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to ask you directly, that the pain and the confrontation with death that you suffer, besides actually giving you a direction to go into medicine, also developed a very strong political position.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because at first I thought that I could, you know, when all my views were, it has always been political. Maybe I just didn't realize it at the time that I was in med school, that I was quite a political person. And even the kind of medication or how I wanted, and mine was particularly revisiting the way Black bodies are treated in healthcare and all that, and trying to just talk about it. And women, like, why is medicine not concentrating on Black women? Like, where is it? And going down into that later is when I'm realizing that, you know what? There is a break. There is something that is not given. Then when I get actually to now start being a doctor, and I remember I used to ask you, like, so what now? Why is it not changing? And then I realized that the system has been this way for so long. No one ever thought that it was wrong.
Babu is at the moment telling us her political experience. So Babu, continue her story.
Yes. So after being a doctor, and I even tried going back, and I think this was the deciding moment for me. In 2019, we were supposed to, women had been killed in Kenya, which was so crazy that we were in March, but we had lost like 67 women in that year. From January to March, 67 women were dead. And it found when Argentina had started this movement called Total Shutdown, where they walked around in green and black, like they're called suffragettes. And it was a fight back because they'd also lost so many women, but Kenya in the world was number 4. According to UN, like in women being killed, it was number 4. So a friend started the movement, and I remember I was just contributing on Twitter because it's like, it's my strong point. So I was just like continuing the conversation on Twitter. Then she reached, like, in the morning that day, I had a therapy session. I was supposed to go and do chemotherapy, or was it radiotherapy? As I'm leaving the house, I had it at around 10. I'm leaving the house and my friend calls me that, are you in town? We have a march today. We're going to protest against the killing of women in Kenya. And where are you guys? It was at around 6:30 in the morning. And I get to town, it's 7, and they tell me where to meet them. And in my head, I was just like, I'll do this until 8, and then I can go to work. So I got there, and when it got to 8, there were people, but we were waiting for someone to give a speech before we start walking. And that was the women rep. She was not yet there yet because it was Women's Day, and they required her to be in the studio and give some interview with the news people. And when that was done, she got there at around 9. I still had time. And then I was just told, do you want to perform? So I'm like, what? I didn't prepare anything. And they're just like, we know you have something. Do you want to perform? And I said, yes, of course, let me perform. This is my contribution because anyway, I'm not going for the match, I'm going to the hospital. And I performed. Then it just felt like there was this feeling, I can't even explain it. There was just this feeling of being carried off. And it just got to this place. And as I finished performing, I just realized that I didn't want to go to the hospital anymore. And we walked. Like, I remember being called the whole day by my supervisor, like, are you okay? Then I think because the match was covered on TV, later he just called me in the evening and he told me, I can't believe you didn't come to the hospital so that you can go for a protest. And then he told me, you've been suspended for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, tell me what you want to do. And I think after 2 weeks, my mind was really made up that I wanted to do art. I wanted to do activism. I'd done this medicine thing, but if I was ever going to stick to medicine, and I know people need money, but if I was ever going to stick to medicine, it will be specifically because it makes money, and because I knew it, that there was no change I was going to create with medicine. None. I tried it, and every place I went to, there was always a block. There was always someone questioning, you're too young, like, give it some time. After some years, you'll be fine with the way the system is. And yeah, so I left before I got fine with it. Before I normalized people's suffering, I just like found my way out.
You finished your career in 2018?
And 19. Yes.
And we are already in 2021. So right after your graduation from the university, you moved to the officially to the artistic field.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have been active on art and also in art and cultural activism for a while. So you started more or less in 2016.
Yes, yes, around there, like 2015.
Yeah, 2015,
when we sat down and we talked about it, and I was telling you that my heart is just with art. I don't,
Yeah, so that was the time you also joined moving culture, more or less.
Yes, yes.
What can you tell the public about the transition and also the overlap stages? Because before you finally committed with yourself and your well-being, emotional well-being, because you said you struggle a lot with emotions.
Yeah.
How you managed to go out of it?
So I think before, when I was starting to do art, because I never thought that I would do art. I always thought I would do fashion and design. Art as a performer, because I always considered myself too shy to be standing in front of people and just speaking to them. And so my performance, I was doing a bit of performing, but it would be dance mostly. It will never be anything else. I would dance and maybe try and sing, but I was never doing spoken word. And then when 2015 and the moving and all that, because 2015 is when I officially moved to Nairobi, and I was like, yeah, now I'm in Nairobi. And during that time, I'd walked away from art completely. And I think I told you that I'd walked away from art completely. I said, you know what? I need to make up my mind. And medicine is a sure future and all that kind of things, like just to talk myself into it. So in 2015, it was just me checking out, because I've always loved fashion and design. Most of my Facebook work is curated. Like then it was always curated with the fashion events that are going to go down and all that. I just love the making of clothes and the process of it. And just how people dress up, I think it speaks so much. So that's how I saw the Karubangi fashion work that you're doing. So I looked at it and I was, interesting. This is happening in Kenya. Interesting. I would want to be a part of it. And then I sent the email, and yeah, your personal assistant losing me for almost 3 months.
It took a long time to connect.
For almost 3 months losing me. And by the time I was meeting you, we were meeting, and I was just like, I thought that we were going to do fashion and design, and we meet, and then you start talking about how you're using art therapy to heal and all that. And I was just, that's interesting. And so after that, just being in that space, you know what? And you started encouraging me, why don't you do spoken word more? Why don't you do? And I remember sometimes you'd just get on stage and call my name, and I'm like, come on. I don't want to talk to these people. I have no business talking to these people. I was just here to watch. And we keep talking about it. And for me, that was when actually medicine started overlapping with art. before that, it was never. It was always, maybe sometimes I'm in school or I miss classes and then I'm just doing art or just looking at art events and following through. But during that time is when I was actively pursuing medicine and actively pursuing art. And it was never easy. It was like mentally I was always almost out of it all the time. And so that overlap was costing me my mental health, because constantly there was no break. When I leave class or the hospital, I'm directly coming into art and all that. And I remember on Mondays were the only break I had, and we would be at Faraja. We do the art therapy, and in the evening I'm coming all the way to go down. And I remember one time when Nejla was in Kenya, and then you told me, yeah, I have an event in the evening. And then you show up to the event and you find me like, I thought you went home. Like, I have to be here. I have to pursue this because now I know. And we do the time when I started going for dance tours with Ida, and Ida Cameron Diaz. And when we started going for the dance tours, and she would call me, like, we're going to Tanzania, we're going to Rwanda. When the dance tours grew beyond that, and now we're going to Bulgaria or Spain. And the one thing is, I'll go and maybe we'll go for a month. And when I come back, I have work from the hospital that I need to catch up with so that I'm also not left behind. And oh gosh, that really costed me my mental health and my social life. I didn't have any friends. I wasn't talking to anyone. I wasn't friends with anyone because I couldn't commit to anything other than the two. And the complete transition, when I knew that the overlap was done, it came with how we are raised to think that if I'm being a doctor more important than if I'm being an artist. And I remember this, my biological mom told me quite, like, she kept repeating it, that why would you want to do something so mediocre and leave this thing that you went to school for and all that. So yeah, the transition part and that final part where now I made up my mind was really hard. And it was coming with a lot of insecurity, because I'm like, will I be able to support myself? Will I be able to stand up for myself and all that? Will I be having enough money to even eat or have a place to stay? And I think the universe has your back the moment you just believe in your path, because so far I've not been homeless, I've not slept hungry, and it's just been art for 2 years now. Fully, it's just been art supporting everything that I do, and there've been more opportunities coming my way. So yeah, the final transition, it was me trusting the universe to have my back.
Yeah, and I think that you started to really have more confidence in yourself.
Yes.
Because everybody else was telling you what to do.
Yeah. Listening to myself.
Listening to yourself, and also to the experiences. You achieved a diploma in medicine, so that doesn't mean that you were not capable, but your heart was bringing you somewhere else, and you managed to understand the business out of it. Because I remember that you were also working on how you could manage to be financially capable to have a living through your artistry. Babu, would you be so kind to give us one of your spoken poetry pieces?
Yes. I'll be delighted. I'll take people through my process of writing. When I write poetry, one thing that I know about my poetry is my poetry comes from my experiences and of those that I see around me. And it always addresses that. This particular poem was written after I went to a dance tour that people were not interested in learning my name. So they kept calling me weird names. And it was something that I went through all my life, that everyone kept giving me whatever version of my name they wanted to. And most of the time it wasn't coming from a place of learning. It was because that was easier. And so I dedicated this poem to all the people like me. And so, yeah. To small girls with big names. After Icon. The world has found easier ways to exist around hard situations. China sent away the sea to build their country. Africa has survived slavery, colonization, and corrupt leaders, and our names too have found ways to settle into the pits that they were dug from. So this is to all the small girls with big names and black faces. Darling, your name isn't wrong. No, the spelling is as it's supposed to be. So wrap yourself around your name like it's the source of life, because it is. And when someone finds a way to shorten it into what pleases their tongues, refuse it. Give them the whole of you. Say your name like it has a ring of fire around it. Say it with your head held out straight. Let it flow out of your mouth like drips of honey. Honey nourishes with it. When the boy from downtown asks you if you got any other simpler names, look him dead in the eye. Ask him if his name is really simple or just the commonness of it. Smile and remember, gold is as rare and hard, so honey, be a gem. When your teacher stumbles through it, wait till they get it right. During games, when the tall, gawky girl calls you the little girl with a weird name, don't run. Stand and smile. Remember that people have a way of destroying things that they don't understand. So be a rock, be the mystic caves of exotic lands, be the undefined, something beyond the brains. The day they call you with their own accents and pronounce your name all wrong without the need for them to learn it the right way, that day say it like something they're too eager to spit out and smile. Clench your fist and give them a stare down. If they laugh because they think it's funny, give them something to laugh about, like a broken nose. Make them scream your name right if they want to say it right, dear girl. A day will come when they will ask you, what does your name mean? Tell them it's a war cry. The fight for all the small girls with big names and black faces. Dedicate your name to the first slave ship that killed this civilization of a name or love. Tell them that your names are of oceans and mountains that they've quenched their thirst with. Tell stories of our existence. Get excited and name yourself after blood. When they doubt you, be a queen. Be the first of your own. In all that you do, carry that name and smear it around like blood. Talk about it like a treasured promise. Dance around its accents. And when they at last understand this, pass your name on. Because this is our story. Don't take it with you. Everyone needs to listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Babu. Very
Thank
powerful. You. And we already raised the 30-minute conversation. Can you imagine? Yes. It's very, very short time. But before we close, I'll be very, very happy if you can share with us your new project on cultural activism and send a message to the new generation and to the society.
Yes. I combined two things because I noticed that as activists, we never have the downtime to rest. And that one I noticed from my own, that I always want to save the entire world, do everything at the same time, fight this, fight that. And when I was creating this program, that is what I had in mind all the time. That why don't we ever have a downtime? Why do we always feel like there is always a need to keep fighting? And so I created a program that puts therapy and activism in one space using art. So art is what puts them in one space. And the activism bit is just teaching people how to be an activist in very simple ways that, yes, there is no safe part of being an activist, but there can always be a safe part in how you practice it. And using art is one of those ways. Art has a way of reaching people so simply, and art is so easy to slip through. Even in a statement, when you perform, it's just easy to put it in there and it goes. So the program that I'm working on currently is about that, finding artistic ways to express our frustrations and our desire for change. And at the same time, artistically finding ways to do therapy with each other, and found downtime and teach people personally how to find their own centers and grounding, even as yeah. So for the people who are coming after us, I think that is something that you're going to decide. And maybe in every generation, people decide it way later, but every generation now, we have to decide it early and earlier and earlier to stand for ourselves and stand for what's right. And that is, what's right is doing right by the earth. The earth is sort of dying on us. Just do right by the people that are here, because we need more kindness and more love. Yeah.
Babu, thank you for your love to humanity. Thank you for being true to yourself. And thank you for promoting unity and diversity.
Always.
So all my love to you, you know that. And please keep shining and keep bringing light to the life of so many people and your own. So blessings, 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 and kwaheri.
Kwaheri. Thank you.
Asante sana.